All right, so just finished recording the podcast, and I'm actually like double dipping today. I guess triple dipping. I've got the mic arm stretched all the way out right now. Like normally it's like this, but it's full on out for the podcast because I don't want to unclip it from my desk, and I'm lazy. I just finished recording the podcast. This episode, it's pretty good. So if you're into that kind of faith stuff, definitely would encourage you to check it out. The Bad Pastor. I'll try to remember to put a link in the bio down below, but you should be able to search the Bad Pastor podcast on YouTube and it'll come up. So anyway, I said I'm triple dipping today because today, let me change the color of that light back there real quick. Today I am trying to record a day in the life. Also trying to record I'm trying to record a vertical day in the life, and then I'm also, no, I'm not going to do the horizontal. Tomorrow I'm going to do a long form day in the life for Friday's vlog. So Thursday in the life for Friday's vlog, just to try to mix it up and do something different. I really love doing the day in the life stuff. And it's just hard. Like, it's time consuming. Crap. Do I have stuff going on tomorrow? I can't even remember. I got to look at my calendar. I'm going to be honest. I've just been feeling really worn down and tired, and I don't feel defeated. I talk about this on the podcast. I just feel restless. So I'm trying to push through that and keep creating and keep trying to push some of my projects forward. At the same time, I'm just like, dude, I just want to curl up in bed and watch TV all day or play some video games. But we keep going. So anyway, all that said, I'm trying to branch out and put. I think part of the problem is I haven't been pushing myself creatively, and I don't remember if I've talked about this on any of the vlogs so far. When I'm not being challenged or pushing myself, I get bored and restless, and I just get complacent. And I think complacency is the thief of innovation. It sounds really smart and stuff, but I don't know if that makes sense. So I'm trying to challenge myself creatively because honestly, right now, like even with the podcast, the hardest part of the podcast, the most time consuming part of the podcast from a creative standpoint is preparing for the podcast. Recording obviously takes about however long the podcast episode is, plus like a couple minutes. Editing the podcast is honestly not very challenging right now. I'm really trying to keep it bare bones and unfiltered. So my editing process is I bring the podcast into DaVinci Resolve because it's free and I'm poor. And I slice the intro. I always do an intro, so I slice that. And then I create a little gap between that and the main content of the podcast. So I create like a work in progress file. And I piece those together. Then I create an actual intro file. And so the intro is timeline. Sorry, not file. Timeline. And so the timeline for the intro is I'll bring in the whole work in progress section. And I'll slice it up and I'll pick like some sound bites and some nuggets out of it that like are interesting, maybe a little controversial, maybe, you know, some suspense. Because this is the marketing piece. So then I'll then have a final release timeline. So I'll bring in the clips into that, the clips timeline, and then I'll bring in the work in progress timeline, and I'll piece them together, and then I'll add in my little intro music and time that out. I'll adjust some color, do a little bit of color grading and volume, audio adjusting, and then I'll put the little music at the end, a little piano, boom, boom, and then I'll export the whole project. I'll go in, I'll take a still from the recording. I'll bring that into Canva. I have like a template I use to create my thumbnail. So I'll create my thumbnail. Then I'll go to YouTube. I'll upload to YouTube. Type up a description. Sometimes I'll use ChatGPT to make a description. I haven't been as much because honestly, ChatGPT's descriptions suck. They just feel so robot-y. I hate the way AI sounds so much like AI. So from there, I'll go do the Substack, and sometimes I'll use ChatGPT to kind of help write the Substack post, and then I'll go in and modify it, make it sound a little more like me. I've been working on making ChatGPT write and sound like me, but it's been iffy. Then I'll grab the link for the YouTube video, put it at the bottom of the Substack so that people who read and receive the Substack can be pushed to watch the YouTube video. Then I'll go to Spotify. I'll upload to Spotify, add in my thumbnail. I'll add in the description. You know, I use the same description for Spotify that I use for YouTube. I'll put that description in. Then I'll put a link to the show notes on Substack just in case someone wants to read, you know, the thoughts that come with it. And then I'll go back to DaVinci Resolve. I'll export just the clips part, like the intro with all the little nuggets. I'll export that. Then I'll bring that into a new DaVinci Resolve project where all the exports are portrait mode, right? The 9:916 ratio. Then what I do is I go back into Canva. I take the thumbnail I made for that video, and I have another template I used specifically with a portrait thing. So I'll then put that thumbnail overlaid on that. I'll go back, export that, go back into DaVinci Resolve, edit that all together. Then I'll have my intro piece. I'll go back to YouTube. I'll schedule that intro, teaser, trailer in YouTube. Then I'll put that on my Google Drive to push to my phone so then I can go into Instagram and TikTok. And from there, put them on Instagram. And it sounds like a lot of work, but honestly, the whole, like, from recording, it's probably like 2.5 hours. And like a real creative would say, that's not long enough. You should be spending so much more time. This is the workflow that works for me, and I make it awesome. It works. So all that takes probably 2 to 3 hours at most. Early on in the podcast, and I'd like to get back to this, it was probably closer to 3 to 3.5 hours, because then I was pulling pieces of, I was making like daily uploads. So I had a whole workflow where kind of the week for the podcast started on Tuesday. So on the day before release, I'd release a trailer teaser. Then the day of, I'd have the first good soundbite. So Wednesday would be a good soundbite. Thursday would be a good soundbite. Friday would be a good soundbite. Saturday would be a good soundbite. Sunday would be more of a text kind of motivational caption type thing meant to encourage and inspire. Then Monday would be the final soundbite from the last episode. And then we'd be back to Tuesday to tease the next day's episode. I'd like to get back to that. I want to do it a little differently, but honestly, those things helped me really grow the TikTok and YouTube. More specifically TikTok than YouTube, but those teasers and consistent uploads really helped grow. And I just started to get bored with them. I didn't get bored. I just didn't have time to really sit and parse through all of them. And it probably, a good portion of that was honestly, because I'd also use, there's an add-on I have for DaVinci that I found that auto captions things, and it's great. But what I started to be challenged by was just the time it took to clip through the podcast, find these clips, edit the clips. And then honestly, what was the most time-consuming, frustrating part of that whole process was probably finding the right music to use with the clips on Instagram and TikTok. Something that was trending, but wasn't trending so much that my videos would get lost in there's a whole lot to think about with content creation. If you're doing it well, and you're doing it and putting effort into it, it's an intensive process, and it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time. And it's a long time before you see any fruit. It's a long time before you see the view counts and things that you want to see. I'm in this process of starting this new channel. I've had the podcast now for like 4 months. 4 months. May, June, July, August. 4 months. And so I get it. Like, whatever. It is a process. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And I'm debating, do I start another YouTube channel for one of the other things I want to be doing? Or do I just keep trying to use this channel to do that? I don't know. All that said, a lot of creators just want to half-butt their content and think, I just upload and people are going to flock to it. Sorry, build and they'll come doesn't work. It doesn't work for churches. Doesn't work for business. Doesn't work for content creation. So that's a glimpse into my podcast workflow. Didn't intend to do that, but anyway, I got to get to work and get to creating some other things. So we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.